Yes, welcome into Sportsbit. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Wednesday, May 3rd, big game breakdown, the doubleheader on TNT, the deep dive. NFL win totals at the South Point came out Sunday. We'll let you know what moved with some of the early action. And yesterday, two big bets on the same team that caused movement. We'll tell you who that team is, and then we'll get to the play of the day before we get out of here. All right, bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Let's start with a moose in Boston. Oh, mercy. Celtics laying 5. They never were covering until they got it in overtime. The Wizards melt down again. They blow a big lead. Isaiah Thomas with 53 points. What a game. I hope this can go 6 or 7, but it doesn't look good for the Wizards. Celtics get the money in overtime, 129-119.
Yeah, and this was a legitimate moose because when you have a team that covers the spread for 48 minutes in regulation and then loses in OT, that's tough. No question. 2 huge missed free throws down the stretch. Gortat missed one, and then Wall missed one that allowed the game to go into OT even after the Otto Porter three-pointer. But, no answers for Isaiah Thomas. Look at the 2 tweets from ESPN Stats and Info. Isaiah scored 29 in the fourth quarter on OT on Tuesday night. The Wizards scored 30. So during that exact same span, obviously advantage Boston. And how about the second one? Look, Isaiah Thomas scored 29 points in the fourth quarter in OT, tied for the most any player has scored in the fourth quarter in overtime of a game in the last 20 postseasons. And the other 2 games, you remember them both, buddy. LeBron James in 2007 when he did it himself against the Pistons. You remember that game. And when Nate Robinson went nuts in 2013 with the Bulls. You remember that game too. Isaiah Thomas, obviously, last night got it done.
And while I didn't think the Wizards had much of a chance in this series after what I saw out of Game 1, the Celtics got whatever they wanted on offense, and the bench, an unmitigated disaster for the Wizards. Remember, they were 27th in defense post-All-Star break. And look at this graphic. Plus minus. Oubre, 28 minutes, minus 24. Bogdanovich, minus 10. You see Jennings and Smith there as well. And look at the bench points and rebounds. Washington, 22 points, 11 rebounds. Boston, 48 points and 14 rebounds, Teddy. You can't defend. You're not getting any help from the defense. And we laid that out on yesterday's show, too, about how bad that bench was in the Atlanta series, too.
Yeah, and this is a bench that they worked so hard to try to improve. They made deadline deals. They brought in Jennings. They brought in Bogdanovich. Hasn't made any sort of a difference here in the postseason. And Washington, and that's a devastating loss. Don't underestimate when a game that you're in position to win for 48 minutes and you lose by 10 in OT. Wizards are going to have a hard time bouncing back from that one.
Yep. All right. The bridge jumpers came out for this Golden State-Utah series on Tuesday afternoon, hours before they tipped off at the Westgate Superbook. They took a bet. Now, this guy's a buffoon. He bet $50,000 on the series price to win $500. Why is he a buffoon? Because down the street at the South Point, it's half that, and at William Hill, the series price was $7,000, Teddy.
Yeah, look, and Golden State is going to win the series. All right, Golden State won last, even though they didn't cover the number, a game that came right down to it. And we didn't call this one a bad beat because it wasn't. This game was right around the number all night. And even though
Can I jump in?
Yeah, sure.
It was an 8-2 closeout. Golden State did only score 2 points in the final 2:30, but I'm going to side with you on this one.
Yeah, look, it's a game that came right down to the number. It came down to the wire, ATS. The Jazz hit the last shot. The Warriors didn't. And that's not a bad beat. That's a tough beat, but it's not a bad beat. Wizards are a bad beat, But here's a guy, and again, we always say, oh, this guy bet 50 grand. He must be a wise. No, he's not a wise guy, because if you walk across the street, you could have bet 25 grand to get the exact same return. Just because someone bets large doesn't mean they are sharp or bet smart. A good article from David Purdom from ESPN Chalk on this one.
All right, plenty of bad bets. The 30-cent move on the Reds. They get blown out by the Pirates. And the A's, they took money. Sonny Gray's return. Irvin Santana, 5-0 with a 0.66 ERA for the Twinks.
Yeah, Santana's been sick. Okay, he has allowed a grand total of 16 hits in 41 innings over 6 starts. He's been the best pitcher in baseball, quite possibly. And Sonny Gray's return to the big leagues, not so hot. Bettors loved him. The A's, a 20-cent move towards Oakland. but 3 of the 5 hits that Sonny Gray allowed were home runs. Look at the tweet from ESPN Stats and Info. The 6 home runs from the Twins on Tuesday night, the most in a game at Target Field since it opened in 2010. They didn't just beat it, they obliterated it. Obliterated it. The previous high had been 4 in a game. They hit 6 on Tuesday night. As for Pittsburgh, getting the money against Cincinnati, lots of Reds money in this one. Everyone wanted to bet against Tyler Glasnow, who was supposed to be the young stud for Pittsburgh. He had a very ugly start to the season, but beware the stud young hurler who needs a gem to avoid getting sent back to AAA. Glasnow gave up 3 walks and a homer in the first, and then threw 5 gem-like innings to get his first big league win after a handful of ugly starts.
All right, let's run through bad for the books. Mets-Braves total bet up from 8 to 8.5. 16 runs scored in this one. Cause for concern maybe. Matt Harvey only 3 strikeouts of the last 51 batters in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets look like they may have another pitcher heading to the table list soon. This dream season for the Mets with all those talented young arms is turning into disaster very, very quickly because those talented young arms can't stay healthy. Bad for the books here with all that over money in a game that flew over the number.
And they know this Royal team's awful. 30-cent move on the White Sox. They went from plus $1.20 to minus 110. They shut out the Royals.
Yeah, and the markets are really buying in on how awful the Royals have been and how bad they are right now. The worst winning percentage in baseball, dead last in OPS and MLB by a wide margin. This is an offense that may not have any upside at all right now. Markets went nuts betting the White Sox. That was bad news for the books.
All right, can Toronto make this a series? And how do Popovich and the Spurs respond? Game 2 is coming up next. And we'll get to the NFL and the deep dive, all straight ahead on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for Big Game Breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com and SBR Odds. Make sure you're betting with a trustworthy shop out there. Game 2. 4 o'clock Pacific, TNT, game 1 of a doubleheader. Cavs 7.5, 214 the total. Game 1, 116 to 105. Cavs threw the first punch. Raptors were down 18, made a nice run to cut it to 3, and then they ran them out the rest of the way. Look at the first quarter, 30 to 18, 32 to 30, and 34 to 26. They took it easy in the fourth quarter when they backed off. Dwayne Casey, quote, "We didn't play with the force we needed to. They were well rested, flying around almost like a half a step quicker than we were all night. We got to make adjustments as far as we want to guard the point, or guard the paint, and then get out to the 3." End quote. But this is a house of horrors. 4 playoff games in this building the last 2 years. Average score: Cleveland 114, Toronto 89. Come on, guys.
Yeah, and I mean none of them have been close, including a game 1. But let's start with this. All right, the Raptors are accustomed to losing these series openers. They've now lost 11 straight. So no big deal on that front, but I do worry about the mentality about Toronto, simply because they've been outscored by an average of 25 points per game in the 4 playoff games on this floor over the last 2 seasons. And boy, that's reflected in the series price, Pauly. A series price that it was the opener, minus 450, minus 5. It's minus 1,000 on Cleveland after that game 1 win. So a huge adjustment by the markets off the Cavaliers' Game 1 performance. And look, Game 1 was that bad for Toronto. Look at this graphic right here. The plus-minus for the starters. Every Raptors starter minus numbers in double figures. Every Cavs starter with plus numbers in double figures. It wasn't close with the starters on the floor. You talked about that with, Cleveland scoring 96 in the first 3 quarters. And it's not going to be easier particularly easy for Toronto to trade points with Cleveland if the Cavs continue to hit shots.
Well, it's factored into the series price, and rightfully so. Remember, if Cleveland wins tonight, that'll pretty much do it. Because remember, LeBron James has won 27 series in a row. He's won a road game. So then that would mean Toronto would have to win twice in Cleveland. So forget about that. But why so bad for DeRozan? They didn't have a great defender against him, but they sent the double team. He didn't handle it well. 4 turnovers, only 2 assists. Come on. He only had 5 trips to the free throw line as well, and he didn't get many calls. Cavs focused on DeRozan because they didn't fear the other guys. Lowry, we got some great looks. that didn't fall that we encourage all our other guys to keep shooting, end quote. And is it smart for the others to keep shooting, or is that playing in the hands of the Cavs? DeRozan only took 16 of 89 Toronto field goal attempts and 5 of 20 free throw attempts, Teddy.
And that's the key stat. For the Raptors to hang tough in this series, DeMar DeRozan has to get to the free throw line more than 5 times. Kyle Lowry has to get to the free throw line more than 4 times. And the Toronto Raptors have to get to the free throw line more than 20 times. That's the Raptors' game. They push the ball in the paint. They get to the free throw line, particularly in the fourth quarter of tight games. Lowry and DeRozan have been very tough to stop without fouling, and that's been their MO all season long. But, you say, is it smart for the others to keep shooting? I think it is. The Raptors are at their best. It's not like their front court can't create plays or create shots. This is a team that is at their best when the ball is being spread around the floor and everyone gets their opportunity. Obviously, game 1, the supporting cast didn't step up. The superstars didn't step up. The Raptors are going to hang tough in game 2. Both of those factors are going to have to improve.
Here we go, 6:30 Pacific, game number 2. Sportsbook review and SBR odds, Rockets and the Spurs. Spurs are 5.5, 215.5 the total. 126-99 in game 1. It wasn't that close. Rockets led by 39 at one point, led by 30 at the half. How about that adjusted series price? Houston, now $1.25 after all that San Antonio steam before the series. ESPN stats and info. The Rockets' 27-point win was tied for the second largest by a road team in a playoff series opener in NBA history. Remember, Houston beat OKC in 5 despite only shooting 48 of 169 from threes. So what happens when they knock down shots? Game 1 happens. 22 of 50 from 3. They only needed 20 points from Harden. Capella was huge. A Ryan Anderson sighting, who also hit some threes. He was 4 of 10 from 3, but did a great job defending LaMarcus Aldridge, who had 4 points.
I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge, we talked about him as someone that San Antonio has to get going in the postseason in order for the Spurs to win the series. Didn't happen in game 1. But note the only 20 points from James Harden. This is Houston, hanging $120 something, and Harden only scores 20. He did those 14 assists, which tells us that's the Rockets at their most dangerous. Talked about Capella. I mean, Capella was a monster. 20 points in, 24 minutes? All dunks, basically. 8 of 10 from the field. What impressed me, Rockets play defense. 13 steals, 5 block shots. This is not a lockdown half-court defensive team. What they do best is create turnovers. They got quick hands, create those steals that lead to easy, fast break buckets. So this is a Houston team that's coming off their A game, no question. Mike D'Antoni, quote, "You have to play like a champion," and that's what we did today in game 1. That's just one day. We need to repeat this 3 more times. We're locked in and competed well. Our defense was good and we hit some shots. We don't expect this to be like this always, but we need to defend and rebound the way we did tonight.
There's a good tweet that was up, an excellent breakdown of Kawhi isolation, where getting Kawhi away from the basket where your man is so far out that Kawhi can't make a big difference on defense. Maybe there's something to it. You can check it out at CBS Sports on Twitter as well. Pop said we competed. I don't think we executed in a wise manner. We disobeyed a lot of basic basketball rules they took advantage of. If we're going to shoot quickly and shoot poorly, going to be a fast break deal all night long, and they're better at that than we are, end quote. Now, the problem they have to solve is Aldridge. He's 6'11". He's 31, though. Lee, 6'9", 34. Gasol, 7 feet tall, 36. They aren't accustomed to getting out there and guarding the perimeter, and that's where it's a horrible matchup for San Antonio, because if these guys are matched up on the Rockets, they're either going to go right around them, or it's going to be bombs away from 3. All those guys can knock down the 3 for Houston, and then Aldridge, he was minus 36 in the game. Not only 4 points, they were outscored by 36 points when he was on the floor.
Look, the Spurs are very accustomed. They basically always play with 2 bigs on the floor at the same time. This is a series where they may not be able to do that. Houston has the potential to take San Antonio out of their comfort zone, just like they did in game 1. I mean, you got a 6'11 guy and a 6'9 guy and a 7-footer, all on the wrong side of 30, all forced to run around on the perimeter and chase wing shooters. That is a problem that's going to have to be solved. Manu Ginobili said that's not the only one. Quote, We really have to step up, and it's hard to pinpoint something because we got outplayed in just about everything. We were not ready or attentive, and they were inspired. They played great. They made shots early, and when their confidence level went way up, we started to get a little frantic, and things snowballed. We'll talk about this game a little bit more, Pauly, when it comes to play of the day time.
All right, up next, the deep dive. Early NFL win total line movers. We'll run that down. And there's one I disagree with big time. That's coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrapping up on SportsBit, at Pauly Howard on Twitter, at Teddy_covers on Twitter as well. All right, very early NFL win total movers, line movers, opened up Virgin numbers Sunday at the South Point. Now these, we'll see what happens here with the action. They were taking a lot of bets at the South Point Sunday afternoon when these came out. First up, the Browns bet up from 4 to 4.5. You know, listen, they won one game last year and they were lucky. We'll see if they're improved. I don't know. Whether it's Osweiler at quarterback, Cody Kessler, could be a long year for the Browns again in a tough division.
Well, we need to know one thing right from the get-go, okay? This is not a mature market. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more books open over the last 24 hours. I expect we'll see more this week. But this much is very clear about this market. Once the numbers start to move, there tends to be one-way action right until August. Unless there's some key injury or they look awful the first couple of weeks of the preseason. You know, in this market, the line movers keep moving. There's no resistance. There's no buyback prices. So if you like one of the teams we're talking about, make the bet as soon as possible. Not tomorrow, not Friday, not next week, not next month, not in August. And Cleveland, you know, I mean, obviously it's a team that only won 4 games over the last 2 years combined, but the Browns will be better this year. Their schedule last year was a disaster. It's not as tough. And the markets for all the teams generally expect a regression to the mean. That means the teams that had the lowest win totals, their win totals will become higher the following year than what they actually won. The same thing with the top teams. The teams that, you know, if you win 14 games, you're not going to be lined as a 14-win team. You're going to be lined 11, 11 and a half, something like that. So it's understandable why the Browns were bet over. That's why we used them as a play of the day recommendation earlier in the week, because we knew that number wasn't going to hold. And Cleveland 4.5 likely to be the broader market number.
All right, I don't agree with this move. Jags from 5.5 up to 6. Here's Jacksonville. Remember, they were the #1 bet team last year, and they didn't even sniff their win total. A lot of people thought they'd make the playoffs. 3-13, 5-11, 3-13, 4-12, 2-14, 5-11. Blake Bortles has more pick sixes than wins. There's your problem.
Yeah, well, again, you know, why was the total so low to begin with? Obviously, you're talking about a team that hasn't cashed a single season wins over bet or won more than 5 games in a season since 2010. The Jags have been an under machine in recent years. But why do the wise guys like them? First, there's been a talent upgrade, all right? It's significant and it's real for Jacksonville. We didn't see the improvement last year, but make no mistake about it. You look at this roster compared to where it was 2 or 3 years ago, night and day better. And, of course, the new head coach, Doug Marrone, the market don't love him, but they like a new guy in front. And, of course, they got Leonard Fournette. Now, all of a sudden, this team has a marquee player. They have an identity. And, again, all wise guy money. And I don't disagree with that move at all. Jags should, the right total for Jacksonville was 6, not 5.5.
Yep, this made sense. Titans under, bet from 9.5 down to 9. That's an interesting division, and that's asking a lot for the Titans to win 10 games.
Yeah, and obviously they're not being asked to win 10 anymore. Now 9 is a push with the money coming on the under for Tennessee. And look, the Tennessee's a trendy team. They have a relatively easy schedule compared to last year, and the AFC South, not the toughest of divisions. But let's be real, that 9.5, it didn't pass the eye test. And bettors are legitimately worried about Mariota's injury history, even though his broken leg recovery appears to be going just fine.
And this moved right away, and rightfully so. You've been making money every year with this. Patriots over from 11 to 11.5. Here's the defending champs the last 14 years. Wins 14, 12, 12, 12, 12, 13, 14, 10, 11, 16, 12, 10, 14, and 14. Come on.
Yeah, it's really hard to bet under given those numbers. But why is it so low? Again, the markets expect regression every year, even from teams like New England. You know, the regression to the mean. And let's not forget the one factor. Tom Brady's friggin' 40 years old. And at some point, the betting markets say age has to start catching up with this guy. You have literally no history of NFL quarterbacks at his age having any sort of success. So that's why the number was perhaps a little bit too low. Bettors corrected that mistake right away. You won't see 11 with New England anywhere else at any point between now and the start of the season.
Raiders yesterday moved from 9.5 to 10. 2 big bets on the Raiders over, bumped it up to 10.
Yeah, and in my opinion, honestly, this is a false move. There's 5 big, 5 teams moved off their opening numbers, and the first 4, that's where the number's supposed to be. This one is wrong, and this one is coming back. And we say, all right, the lines come one way and they never go back the other way. This one's gonna. Let's not forget, the Raiders are a lame duck team in Oakland. Don't underestimate the loss of their home field edge and their fan support. And now all of a sudden there's a bunch of moneyed Raider fans in Vegas making bets on their team. So you may see some good odds here in Las Vegas to bet against Oakland. In my mind, this is one of them. This 10 on the Raiders to move from 9.5 to 10. Again, I don't think it's going to hold, and I don't think the broader market is going to line Oakland as a 10-win team going into 2017.
All right, I agree with the second part. The first part, they're sold out, and there's a long waiting list to get tickets. So they're a Super Bowl contender. They'll be fired up in Oakland the next couple of years. Money time, play of the day. Where are we going?
Let's go right back to Houston. Game number 733. And you better believe we're taking the Rockets plus 5.5. Bounce back spot for the Spurs? Spurs aren't the better of these two teams. And none of the games this season have been won by San Antonio by more than 5.5 points. I don't think tonight's will either. Let's take the Rockets plus the points. That's our play of the day.
Yeah, very good. First quarter's going to be big in this one as well. See if the Rockets get the early lead. And Thursday, another doubleheader, this time on ESPN with the NBA playoffs. What a series the Washington-Boston series has been. And we'll get to Golden State and Utah. Plus, the deep dive, MLB early season money makers and money losers with the first month in the book. Check you out then on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. Thanks for watching.